Welcome back to Families in Action right here on KHTS AM 1220, your hometown station. And I'm Michael Doherty along with Cary Quashen, and we have a special guest with us today, Josh Greengard, the Public Information Officer for the local California Highway Patrol. Hello and welcome back. It's
Good
been
afternoon,
a while.
guys. Yeah, it's been a little bit.
I think it was just before the holidays last year, wasn't it?
I want to say, no, it was this year before Independence Day or right after Memorial Day?
Before
right
a
before
holiday,
Memorial
yeah.
Day.
Right, it wasn't that long ago.
But we're coming up
few
on
months.
Thanksgiving, which is the most dangerous day of the year to be on the road.
Well, I don't think it's the most dangerous, but maybe the most traveled.
Most traveled.
Definitely.
Most traveled.
Yeah.
Most traveled.
What is the most dangerous? What times of the year do you know?
They say it's between 4th of July and Memorial Day.
Gotcha.
Those are the days that everybody's out. They have a little bit of a vacation going on. The kids are out.
Right. So we actually got a lot to cover, Michael. I mean,
We do.
I would like to talk a little bit about the marijuana driving. And I really would, because I was looking at, and we don't have to do that right from the start, but I was looking at some of the statistics in Colorado, and I think it's Washington, and they're saying that there's more and more car crashes and stuff because of the marijuana, the THC drivings right now. So those are statistics.
Yeah, well, since it got passed, what do you think, Josh? What do you think we're looking for?
Well, I think we need to pay attention to driving under the influence, right? I mean, whether it be alcohol, whether it be marijuana, whether it be
Right.
prescription medication, can't drive with any of those in your system, right?
And I think that's really the ticket. I did a story and it was on Facebook with KHTS about THC and driving, and you should have seen the blast. People were saying, "Hey, I'd rather smoke weed and drive than drive drunk." I mean, isn't that like the lesser of both evils? If you get behind the wheel of a car, you shouldn't have any drugs.
And we'd
or
rather
alcohol.
you didn't drive in either of those
Period.
situations.
I'm not. It's
Yeah.
not even a debate on what's better or what's worse.
Both are evil, and both will impair you,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
Bottom line, they're both going to impair you.
Right. So, if you're going to smoke your weed or drink your alcohol or take your prescription pills, stay off the road.
Yeah,
It's
just
that simple.
And then if you combine smoking marijuana or drinking with other things like texting using your cell phone.
oh, that's a different story right here.
Oh, my goodness
Texting and
sakes. Well,
driving.
now we have a new
I
cell
think
phone
that's
law.
almost just as bad, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, it's distracted driving, right?
Yeah.
Looking at your cell phone, looking down. If you drive 65 miles an hour on the freeway and look down at a text, average text read takes you 3 seconds to go. How
Right.
far do you think you're traveling? And those 3 seconds is 65 miles an hour.
The size of a football field.
Yeah, you guys know.
Yeah,
know.
you
We
were
talked-
here before, but
you were here
I know,
before.
you guys
we
know.
don't forget.
But maybe someone else might.
He
Just
thought,
a reminder.
He thought he had us. You see that?
Yeah,
Look at
I know.
him.
I saw the look in his eyes, but I knew we had it. We had this one.
Yeah.
That's like a get out of ticket free after that.
That's
one.
right.
But how many people would drive a football field with their hands over their eyes?
Nobody.
Nobody, right? But they don't think about
Unless
it.
they were impaired.
They don't think
already.
about it. Yeah.
But it happens every day. And
Well, yeah, and I just want to relay this story. This just happened, I think it was at Sunday. It might have been. My wife and I were driving down the road, and the person beside us pulled up a little bit ahead of us, and all of a sudden they jerked the wheel. Suddenly they went partway into our lane and just as quickly jerked the wheel back the other way. And as soon as it happened, I said, I bet they're texting.
Pull up next to them. What were they doing?
They didn't. They took off.
Oh, you
and then
you weren't
they
able
did
to-
it in front of somebody else, and I never did see. But between the jerking the wheel, they were driving pretty decently, so I was pretty
It's a
sure
good
they were
possibility.
texting. Yeah, it's a good possibility.
we called the highway patrol a couple of weeks ago. We were driving on the freeway, and somebody was so out of line. And then I almost did it the other night, but when I followed, and I realized they were on the phone instead. But
still,
But we have a new cell phone law now, right?
we do have a new cell phone law as of January 2017.
what is that?
You cannot have the cell phone in your hands whatsoever while driving
Gotcha.
for the driver.
That's
So it doesn't matter if you're playing with the phone, texting, looking at maps, switching between music. You cannot have it in your hand, physically holding
That's
it.
if you're the driver.
If you're the driver, of course, yeah.
So
Passengers.
it's completely hands-free. is what they're
Completely
saying.
hands-free. It has to be in a cradle in the designated spots on your dashboard, either below the A-pillar or right above the AC vents in
Gotcha.
the center console.
Wow.
Well, all of us that drive know how dangerous it is when you're driving along and somebody is in front of you swerving in and out of lanes and you drive next to them and they're either texting or they're on the phone.
Yeah.
And that's not good stuff. So hooray, I'm glad the law's here. I just hope it gets enforced.
Oh,
It will.
It will.
You could look,
You
he's
don't
on
have
a
to-
mission. Look at that. Well, if you look at the numbers, I guess it's pretty scary on the car crashes and accidents and deaths because of text messages and phone calls. I have a feeling that the California Highway Patrol's on a mission to save lives and to keep the road safe.
Now, you know,
lower,
you and
lower
I
the
were-
mileage death rate. That's what
You
we're
and
here
I
for.
were talking just before the show went on, and you brought some fascinating statistics
Yeah, well,
along
at,
with you.
at any given day in the United States, there's 254 million cars registered, right?
Wow.
That was statistics of last year, 2015. 34 million of those are in California. 6.2 are just in LA County.
Wow. So we got the majority, don't we?
I mean, I would think so.
Looks like it.
There's a lot of metal running around out there.
Some plastic, maybe
Plastic,
some carbon
yeah.
fiber.
Right. What is the most dangerous thing we do every day?
Drive. Right.
Get
No one thinks about it though.
It is the most dangerous thing we do every day.
And the other thing people forget is that while the most dangerous thing we do is driving, it's also a privilege to
Very
do
much
that.
so.
It is
Very
not a
much so.
right. And when you are abusing the privilege out there, then you are endangering society.
Yes, I 100% agree. And that privilege can be taken away from you.
So you know what? It never ceases to amaze me that somebody's going to go out. They're going to go to a bar and a club. And they know they're going to go out and go to a bar and a club. Why are they driving?
I don't know. There's so many different options. You have Uber, you have Lyft, you have a friend, you have a taxi cab. I mean, at a touch of a button on your phone, you hit Uber and they're coming within, 10, 15 minutes at the very, very most?
At the very, very most.
very most.
So there really isn't any reason to drive drunk anymore.
No.
There just isn't a reason. There's so many options out there. Michael, why? What is it? What do you think?
Well, a lot of people, they just don't think about that stuff. It's like, I'm going to drive, I don't care, I'm not impaired.
I could drive.
it's not
better
gonna
when
happen
I'm
to me.
drunk.
Yeah, all those things.
A lot of people think it's not going to happen to them
Yeah.
until it does. And then unfortunately, when it does, it's too late to take it back.
Yeah, and you see the worst, don't you? On those highways.
Sometimes, yeah. It's not pleasant sometimes.
Yeah, I bet you. I bet you it's scary stuff.
And Josh and I were talking again before we went on the air, and I was reminding him that I had done a documentary called "The Murder Under the Influence: The Drinking Driver," and it won a lot of awards and all that sort of thing. And I remember I was behind the camera. I was the guy running the camera, and we did what's known as a POV, point of view. So I was the drunk.
Right.
And so the
Mike,
law enforcement.
you know why
people-
you're here today?
Yeah,
because
exactly.
we care.
So they told me how drunk to be, so people could understand and relate to, and what typically happens when they're asked for their driver's license and they end up giving them a credit card. And
Do you remember how drunk you were supposed to be?
No.
I put drunk
No, I
in
don't.
quotations because
Yeah.
it should be just
I don't.
impaired.
I was impaired.
Impaired, yeah.
I was
Just
impaired because I was slurring a little bit, but it wasn't that bad. I was able to walk the line pretty well, but not quite enough. And they
you
did
were
the whole bit. They put the cuffs on me, the whole thing. They went down and we did the breathalyzer. And since I wasn't under the influence, they rigged the breathalyzer, by the way, and that's not something they normally do, right?
Yeah. Oh, of course not.
Of course not.
We do not. No.
Let's clear that up right away.
No,
This was
But
for
my
your documentary only.
But my point in saying this was we actually got in and we saw photographs of collisions that have resulted from impaired drivers, drunk drivers, etc. And it wasn't a pretty picture.
No.
This was bad stuff.
No. Oh, yeah. I mean, from the worst, people lose their lives, right? And that, the lives lost is always a ripple effect. It just doesn't affect the one person or two people. It affects friends. It affects family. It affects outermost family. It affects just acquaintances.
I was at the hospital Friday, actually, and I was talking to a couple parents that lost their kids that work there that I know very well.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the anniversary right now, and it's been years, and they're still devastated.
And I can tell you, from even with that ripple effect, you don't think it affects the doctors that have to work on them?
Oh, of course.
The firemen who have to see it, the policemen who have to see it, the paramedics.
The first responders, the highway patrol.
Yeah, and any other agency, right?
Of course. Nobody wants to see somebody lose their life.
Or a child lose their life.
Especially a child.
And that leads into what I wanted to say here. Speaking of statistics, the leading cause of deaths for teenagers is traffic collisions. 4,000 teens were killed last year, and another 400,000 were injured in traffic collisions.
Traffic collisions.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're
6%
not-
of the time, those kids were passengers too. because they were letting their other teenager drive. That's why they have such big restrictions on first-time drivers.
So what is the restrictions? Because you know what? I know parents don't follow that.
Your first year, you can't drive with anybody over the age of, or under the age of 20. So they have to be age of 20.
Period.
Have a driver's license, and they can't be driving between the hours of 11 at night and 5 in the morning.
Well, having
Wait. For what reason?
For what reason?
Give us a good, so people can. I want them to hear you.
I could tell you right now, obviously, it's DUI, number one. Right. You also have lack of experience, which is number two.
Right.
And you have visibility. When you add all three of those together, it's a deadly combination.
Now there are some kids, that are responsible. We know that.
Of course.
But most kids, you get in a car, they're 16 years old, their friends get in, they turn the music on, even if they're not high. They're listening to music, they're looking around.
They're talking to their friends.
They're talking to their friends. Their reaction time's not even
divided attention.
And
they have multitasking to do, right? They have to take that car, drive it down the street. It's not just taking the car, driving down the street, right?
It's paying attention to everything around you.
Keeping the
and
car.
they're not seasoned drivers, so they don't know what to do.
Well, it's like you said earlier. It's like you look at a text message, it's 3 seconds. When you're talking and listening to music, it's 3 or 4 seconds. It's almost.
Yeah.
And there are statistics to prove what happens when you have someone under the age of 20 in the car with a teen driver and another one and another one.
Yes.
And rapidly, the potentiality for a collision increases very quickly.
Yes. It's not just times by 1, times by 2. It's not double, triple. It exponentially goes up.
And I have a statistic here, Cary, that every single parent and grandparent and brother and sister of some teenager that's out there driving, you need to hear this, and you need to hear it very clearly.
I know the statistic. I want you to say it because this is the reason there's laws.
Well, listen
and restrictions on drivers.
And I'm going to say this once again. The leading cause of deaths for teenagers is traffic collisions. 4,000 teens were killed last year. Another 400,000 were injured. Listen to this. 50% of teens who lost their lives last year would still be alive today if they buckled up.
And I will tell you, California has a 98% compliance for that.
Does that include teens?
That includes teens.
It does.
It's just the 2% of people not wearing their seatbelt attributes to a lot of traffic collisions.
Just 2%.
2%, yeah. Right?
Contributes to the loss of life.
Contributes to all that loss of life. Yeah.
Put your seatbelts on. I was in some kind of training years ago, and they said it. It said it perfectly, which made such good when seatbelt laws just came out.
Yeah.
If you're driving and you're doing 60 and somebody stops in front of you and you hit them, your car stops. You don't.
Yeah, and I tell you, I tell a bunch of people, well, you may have a big Cadillac or you may have a big truck. I may have a smart car, right? But you can't plan to who you're going to get in a crash with.
Right.
And on top of that, our bodies are all built the same. My aorta is the same size as yours, and it takes the same amount of force to rip mine than it does yours.
Right.
So it's the impact, but it's also the impact with your body and your organs inside of it.
Yeah. Makes no sense why you wouldn't want to wear a seatbelt.
Well,
it's there to save your life, period.
It's
End the
designed to.
subject.
Yeah.
And I mentioned this short story to you before, Cary, but back in the day when there were no child seats, my nephew was very, very young at the time, and his father was driving down the street, and he got into a collision, and my nephew ended up with a cigarette ashtray in his mouth. He fell forward, and he was hanging off this ashtray.
And he was in the back seat, you said?
Front seat.
Front seat, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got to remember that the car's doing 65. Everything in that car is also doing 65 miles an hour. Whether it be your toolbox, whether it be your purse, whether it be your wallet, whether it be that cup of coffee.
Whether it be you.
Exactly. That's what I was going to go to.
I knew that. So if that car stops and you don't have that seatbelt,
you're going.
I was driving down the 210 freeway one day, and I'll never, ever forget this. This was just a couple of years ago, and I was coming around by the 210 in the 2-ish, and there was a car that just must have crashed, and the guy whoever it was, went through the windshield and then slid himself back to underneath the car, and you couldn't tell even what color he was. All blood, and he just was screaming for God.
Oh, yeah. And then I bet, these are experiences that you've gone through that the teenagers that start driving haven't gone through yet. They don't see it yet. Right. They don't know to go around a blind turn. Maybe I should take my foot off the gas and maybe coast and cover the brake just in case.
Right.
Going through that intersection.
And if this guy, clearly he went through the windshield.
obviously wasn't wearing a seatbelt.
Obviously wasn't wearing a seatbelt.
Now, Josh, you were saying that Thanksgiving is the most traveled
the
holiday
most traveled
of the year.
holiday.
Yeah. Now the statistic again here, Cary, this goes back to 2014 once again, but AAA projected in 2014 that 46.3 million Americans would take to the road and drive at least 50 miles from home. So you can imagine it's gone up considerably from
Oh, I'm sure.
2014.
I'm
My
sure.
heaven's sakes! But safety. You want to get there safely. You want to enjoy that Thanksgiving.
You want to
meal.
enjoy
wanna
the
get
family.
back home.
A lot of people only see their family once a year, right? And that's the holiday
Right.
that they see, right?
Right.
Mom or grandmother makes this huge meal, and everybody's invited. And that's the time that everyone's sitting around the table. You want to plan for that travel, and then you want to plan for a little bit of extra time just to get there, because all those people
Right.
on the road are doing the same thing.
Now,
You're eating and fun, and there's a lot of people that serve a little bit of wine and a little bit of that. And here's just some suggestions. We all know somebody that comes over that might be drinking a little bit too much and that kind of stuff. If that's the fact in your house, maybe you don't want to have any wine that day.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to keep your family member and everyone around
Or
safe.
just have an
'Cause
open
that's
bed
not-
for them.
That's
Or what?
Or have an open bed for them.
Right, exactly.
Because that's not going to make or break the celebration.
No,
It just is.
and by the way, if there's a thing going on and somebody in your family gets too drunk or too impaired, as you would say it, maybe you ought to take the keys away.
Of course. Oh, heck yeah. Big time.
And maybe they'll be angry at the time, and maybe they'll thank you tomorrow, and maybe they won't, but maybe you'll save their life.
Yeah.
Josh, you in the highway patrol, you've seen a lot of the results of people driving improperly
Yes.
on the roads, especially Thanksgiving. What would you say to people that are planning on making a trip or driving on Thanksgiving?
Well, just plan for extra traffic. Everybody knows. Plan for extra traffic. Plan for that extra hour that it's going to take you. And just be patient. Just be happy that you're going to go see some family. Be happy that you have family to go see. Right?
Yep.
You want to be around to see another Thanksgiving.
Exactly. Everybody.
And later in the day, when more people have been doing what you were just talking about, maybe they were having a little glass of wine or more, then you really have to be careful, because everybody's coming home from Thanksgiving.
Yeah. You got to be careful. You got to be careful that whole weekend, because I know the Highway Patrol, we have a maximum enforcement period, and that's one of those weekends, those big 5.5, 6-day holiday, right? Including the travel day with Wednesday to Monday.
So what does that mean?
That means that there's a lot of us out there.
That means that you're going to see Joshes everywhere.
And,
Yeah.
and what would you say to parents to say to their teens?
Well, just keep them with you and keep the parents safe, keep the kids safe, right? Do the right thing.
Make sure they understand they need to buckle up, and make sure that they
Lead
understand.
by example.
You put,
Say that again,
there
please.
You go.
No,
There
lead
you
What
go.
does that mean? Tell us what that means.
Well, for me, I have my kids in the car. I'm definitely not going to text in front of them.
Right.
I'm definitely going to wear my seatbelt, and I'm definitely going to abide by the speed laws and the traffic laws, because my kids are going to see me, and they're going to be like, oh, when they get older, Dad never did this, Dad never did that.
So you
Mom
want to
never
be
did this."
the example, the role model that you want for your
a good
kids.
example. A
That
good
you
example.
want for your kids.
Of course, right?
Yes. And you know all that craziness, do what I say, not what I do, that doesn't work.
No.
Kids do what we do. They
course.
learn from us. They learn how to drive from us.
They learn everything from us.
Right, they're like sponges.
Mm-hmm.
So it's our duty to teach them right and wrong, and especially on the road, the most dangerous thing we do all day, every day is what? Try
Drive
to get behind
them.
the wheel of our car.
Yeah. That heavy piece of machinery that people don't think it's a heavy piece of machinery.
Yeah. And some of those are pretty big. Some of those pickups are fairly beefy.
Yeah.
It's. I'll tell you what, when my daughter hits the road, or my kids when they were young and they got in the car when they were 16 and they drove away, I actually would lose sleep sometimes.
Oh
thinking
yeah,
about
I
that.
hear it from all these parents. We do Start Smart classes for the ages of 14 to 19-year-olds, and we tell the parents, a lot of parents are like, do I have to stay here? And I said, yeah, you got to stay here. We're trying to teach your kids what to do, but we want you to hear so you know what we're teaching them, but maybe, take a piece of information from it too.
Right. What do you want people to get out of you being here today? What message do you want to give out?
Oh,
there?
just to drive safe. We're out here trying to decrease the mileage death rate, right? Safety, security, and service. That's all we try to do.
Mike.
You know what? I safe rides. I mean,
There
if
you
you've already blown it and you can't manage to get in your car and drive, Safe Rides is available. And here's the number: 661-259-63 630.
That's
Safe Rides.
That's for kids.
Yeah.
That's not for adults.
That's
for
right.
adults.
That
That's
is
right.
not for adults. So again, if you're a teenager and you're out there and you're at a party and either you're too drunk to drive or the person that drove you is too drunk for you to get in that car, there is a phone number you can call.
Yeah, and by the way, that's Fridays and Saturdays.
Read it again.
661-259-6330. Safe Rides.
Adults, if you're too drunk, if you think you're too impaired, I like that word better.
Too impaired.
Uber,
Lyft, taxi.
Lyft, taxi. 2 minutes, 10 minutes, maybe 15 tops, and they'll be there to get you home. If you're driving with somebody, if it's a friend, if it's a husband, wife, uncle, aunt, whoever it is, and you can't take the keys away, don't get in the car.
And again, Josh, you've seen the results of these collisions, but you know, how do you think you would feel if you were the impaired driver that ran into a car and killed a child, killed a family?
Wouldn't be able to live with myself.
How would you get through the rest of your life?
We had a kid that was 15 years old that came into our rehab, and she got sober. Her mother called her when she was 16 and a half to thank us and to let us know that her daughter was killed 1 year and a half sober by a drunk driver.
Wow.
That's pathetic. And that's the reason why we want to put those interlock ignition devices in cars.
We want to save lives.
We want to save
So
lives.
let's talk about that. Let's get Josh's opinion
We got to take a break.
after you talk about that.
All right. We'll
I
talk
have to
about it
hear
real
it.
quick.
You
You
okay with
remember
that?
we talked about this last
Yes.
time you were here. It's attached to the console of your car. You sit down, you puff in it. It takes 3 seconds, and if you're over the limit, if you've been drinking, then your car's not going to start. If you're not, your car will start perfectly.
Yeah.
And then it's going to test you again as you go down the road and stop.
We want one of those in every car.
Every car.
Because let's put it to you this way, if your car can't start because you drank and you're drunk, you won't get arrested. If your car can't start because you're too drunk to drive, you won't run into somebody and take their life. On that note, we're going to take a break. This is Families in Action on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.
Welcome back to Families in Action, right here on KHTS, AM 1220, your hometown station. Cary, what a show today. My heaven's sakes, we've been talking about Stephanie's going to jump off a 20-story building down there.
I know Stephanie's listening. Good luck, Steph. I love you.
I should rephrase that. She's repelling, so she'll be safe.
Okay.
Hopefully she'll get it on that GoPro camera and we'll be able to see it. Congrats to you, Stephanie. Way to go. You're braver. You're a better man than I am.
Yep.
Okay.
Better. I'm not. I wouldn't do it. No
You're
way.
a better man than I am, but it's for a great cause. And Josh,
They have
Greenberg-
elevators. Why repel?
Why repel?
Or
yes.
stairs.
The stairs,
Good
exactly.
exercise.
That's for
right.
people that are in a real hurry. And of course, it's always wonderful to have Josh Greengard here with
Always.
us from the California Highway Patrol. Are all your buds listening to you out there?
I'm sure there's a few. Yeah.
All right,
I'll
all
hear
right.
about it
Well,
when I get back to the
you
office.
represented them well, and we really applaud you for being out there. During this difficult time when we've been having the folks out there stating their opinions, about
Voicing
the
their
election.
opinions.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, and you're out there to keep it all calm and peaceable.
Peaceful. Yep.
And Cary,
Michael.
you are actually going to be on another show here, following this one immediately.
Immediately following this show.
You're going to be talking
Exactly.
about Healing America
Yes.
and you have somebody that's going to be on the show with you, Delise Diaz. If you haven't met her, she's a nice lady, Cary.
She is
by
a
the way.
nice lady.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with you.
And we've
Michael.
had her on the show. I'm teasing you because
Yeah, I
we've had
know.
her on the show. You know her. She's one of the best therapists here in town.
One of our premiers.
And Delise, I want you to know, I was paid $50 to say that. No, Delise has a bunch of things she does as a therapist. I mean, she's got a game out there. She's got some courses she's put together. She's got a book. I mean, wow. She's really into what she does. So she's passionate about helping people.
An amazing person.
There you go. So that's right immediately following this show. You and Delise, Healing America.
And we're gonna talk about the election, about voicing your opinions, like you were saying, Josh, in an appropriate way.
Of course. Yeah.
Because I've been looking at Facebook and watching the news, and I think it's insane what's going out there. People that loved you yesterday hates you because you voted for someone that they didn't believe in.
Yeah.
I mean, they're picketing and stuff, and I love one thing. I don't want to get into it now. It's the next show, but I love what Obama said. The sun's going to shine tomorrow, people.
It was a beautiful morning today.
It was a beautiful morning today. Why are we making it ugly? Why are we making it ugly?
Yeah, you're right.
On that note, that's coming up.
I've got a positive thing to talk about before we head out.
Go for
today.
it.
Hey, we talk about on this show, we have Larry Shallard and some other folks that come on and talk with us about suicides and mental health issues. And so here's a way that you can actually learn to kind of spot somebody that may be thinking about suicide and how to talk to them and how to react to that in a positive way. It's called Safe Talk. This is suicide alertness for everyone. And you love this Cary, because character. Never mind,
What's
Cary.
my name?
Cary Quashen. I know you well.
That's me.
Okay, we have opened, Henry Mayo Newhall Hospital has opened the Henry Mayo Fitness and Wellness Education Center. That's on Town Center Drive.
It is.
Right, and this is the thing that's happening. They have an education room there, or rooms, and we're able to actually do health-oriented things like this, and this is where it's going to happen. Safe Talk, suicide alertness for everyone. It's a half-day training in suicide alertness. It helps participants recognize a person with thoughts of suicide and connect them with resources that can get them help. This is for anyone ages 15 years of age and older, and guess what? It is that free word.
Free?
They're even going to give you refreshments.
Ooh.
And one of our therapists at the hospital is doing this, and she's a specialist in this Safe Talk, so it's going to be phenomenal. Listen, you've got to register 2 days before each class session. So for the next one, you have to register today. But it's Wednesday, November 16th, and then they have 3 others after that. So you won't lose.
And we're also
out.
going to start a substance abuse deal there that I'm going to be probably heading up.
Exactly.
But let's forget all about that. What's Josh doing? This driving thing. I want to talk about that. Yeah. Don't we have a course that you guys teach?
We have a Start Smart class, yes.
That's what I want to hear
for
about.
the teenagers, 14 to 19 years old. It's an excellent, what it is, Start Smart class. We talk about graduated driver's license when they have their permits. We talk about DUI. We talk about speed, seatbelts. Talk about distracted driving for most of it, half of it. And it's a good program. And we have a lot of people attend. We just had one over the last weekend, one before the weekend, that weekend. So, they're very well attended.
When's the next one? I think every parent with a kid that's driving or getting ready to drive should be in that class with their kids.
It's a great tool for a parent.
It
is
is.
The next one?
The next one will be in January. We haven't got the specific date yet, but you can always go on our Facebook page, CHP Newhall area, like us, and we always advertise on there. Or you can sign up for Nixle and sign up on our account there too. And we're always advertising. We advertise them over social media all the time, through KHTS, through everywhere else.
I just have to say something, and I know I speak for Cary when I say this. Josh, we are so thankful for you and everyone at the California Highway Patrol, law enforcement in general. What a wonderful, wonderful service you all provide to our communities all across the nation. And we have so much respect for you and what you do.
Well, thank you. And the guys back at the office love to hear that.
And we do. We appreciate them. Leave me alone. I've got a black Escalade. I'm just teasing.
I know what you drive.
I know you do. But no, seriously, we do appreciate it, and especially in times of holidays, or any time, but right now, be careful out there, guys.
Of course.
Pay attention to what's around you. Pay attention to yourself and everybody else.
Give yourself that little bit extra time.
Exactly. And what a great show, Josh. We always appreciate you. Are we done? We are? That's it? Time to close, Mike?
Wow.
What's coming up next?
We got this show with somebody named Cary Quashen. You're hanging around.
I'm hanging
Delise
around.
Diaz is going to be here, and you guys are going to be talking about healing the nation. And right now, we need a great big help.
We do.
We really do.
This is Families in Action on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. Thanks for listening.